What's up guys, welcome to today's video. For those of you guys that don't know me or are new to the channel, my name is Nick Palladino. I'm 26 years old and I'm a real estate investor here in the Phoenix area. Today's video is going to be a very general one, and it's going to be hopefully on the shorter end, and that is going to be 5 steps on how to buy your first rental property. I currently own 2 rental properties in the Phoenix area. They're actually both student rentals, and I'm making about $1,500 a month in combined cash flow on these 2 properties. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys some easy, simple steps on how to start, what to look for, and the process of moving forward with your first rental property. So sit back, relax, enjoy the video. If you guys have any questions or video suggestions down below, be sure to comment. And before we get started, it'd be awesome if you guys can drop a like. So a little bit of backstory on myself. For those of you guys that haven't watched any videos on my channel before, I bought my first rental property at 25 years old, right across the street from Grand Canyon University. I bought that property for $210,000. I put 20% down and I put about $5,000 into the property, if I remember correctly. I currently rent that place out for $1,800 a month, with my mortgage being just under $1,000. I then bought my second rental property based on the statistics from my first rental property because it was down the street, same exact size, same amount of bedrooms, and it was right by campus as well. So the numbers were right, and I bought that property for $200,000, and I'm currently renting it for $1,752 a month, with my mortgage being just over $900. In combined totals, I'm just about $1,500 after some of the monthly expenses that I obviously have to pay. The first step is getting pre-approved and knowing how much of a house you can actually afford. So this is a very simple step. It's basically finding a mortgage broker, or finding a bank, or you can even get private loans, finding someone that will loan you the money to buy a property. A lot of the time this is going to require bank statements. It's going to require proof of income, at least like 2 years proof of income. It's going to require some tax forms, like obviously your tax returns and stuff like that as a proof of income. You're going to need your DTI, or your debt to income ratio. So the banks are going to look at how much you owe as opposed to how much you're taking in. So like card payments, mortgages on your house, credit card debt, personal debt, all that kind of stuff will come into play on your pre-approval. So once you get a pre-approval, they're going to basically let you know how much of a house you can afford, and they're going to tell you how much of a down payment that you're going to have to make, depending obviously if it's going to be a rental property or if it's going to be a property that you actually live in. These are 2 completely different things. Generally, on a property that you don't live at, like a rental property that you're going to be renting out, the interest rate's going to be higher just because they see you as more of a liability, and you're going to have to put more of a down payment down because they see you as a liability as well. Most rental properties, at least from my understanding, you generally have to put down 20%, which is a conventional loan, and then you're going to get a debt or a loan of 80% of the house. So the first step, pre-approval. Make sure you can afford the houses that you're looking at. The second thing you want to do is find an agent. I always like finding agents that are doing the same thing as me. I want to find an agent that is good at investing. They invest in properties. They have rental properties of their own, because they're going to be able to help you with the numbers. They're going to be able to help you with the neighborhood. If you don't actually live in the state or the city, they're going to be able to help you with that and kind of just give you a little bit more confidence on purchasing a property. So you're going to want to find a real estate agent that's very helpful, and then you're going to want to run the numbers on the property. Running the numbers means how much you're gonna have to put down. If you're gonna cash flow on it, you don't wanna have negative cash flow every single month. That's like the worst thing you can have on a rental property. You either wanna break even, or like most of the time, I won't buy a rental property unless I know I can make money every single month based off rent. I figure out what rents are going for. I go look around on Zillow or like the MLS or Redfin, some of those sites online, and you can kind of get an idea on what rents are going for in that neighborhood. And then you just basically wanna figure out how much your mortgage is gonna be, and you wanna make sure you're gonna be able to get rent that covers that and a little bit more every single month. For me, I look for properties that I can usually cash flow after my mortgage at least like $500 every single month, because if there is repairs, then I have that cushion or that emergency fund for my properties. There's some people and there's some states where it's a lot harder to find cash flowing properties, like California, for example. A lot of investors actually go based off appreciation of the property and not necessarily cash flow. A lot of the times over in states like that, they'll actually just break even, but then they're banking on the appreciation once they sell the property to kind of make that money up. For Arizona or Phoenix, for me, for example, there will be appreciation, but the reason why I bought my properties is because there's a good chunk of cash flow. My mortgage is down here and my cash flow is up here, so all of this is just money I'm making every single month. So the second thing, run the numbers, make sure everything's good. The third thing you're gonna wanna do is, once you run the numbers, is figure out how much you're gonna offer. You wanna take into consideration how long it's been on the market. Is it a hot market? Is like something, for example, right now with the coronavirus, you might be able to get better deals because people are willing to sell it for a cheaper price because they just wanna get rid of their property. A big thing that I look for is time on on the MLS or like the multiple listing service or Zillow, if it's been on there for 50 days and it hasn't sold or it hasn't got any offers, then you have a lot of wiggle room, or you have a lot of negotiation power because it's been on there for so long. So you may want to throw in like a little lowball offer and figure it out. But if it's a property that's been on there for 2 hours and they've already had like 5 or 6 offers, then you may have to go in fast. You may have to go in with like a different approach. Sometimes you have to put down more of a down payment. A lot of people will pay cash for properties because it's a quicker close. So sellers of a property are more willing to sell it to someone that has a cash offer because it's quicker, it's more efficient for them, and it's just a simpler process. So if it is like a really hot property, you may have to really think about your offer and the negotiation on it. If you're gonna put down a higher deposit, sometimes that's a big thing. If you're gonna put more down payment, like I said earlier today, I've heard of things from people writing personal letters, from people changing their offers from 10% down to a full cash offer because they like the house so much. So negotiation power and figuring out your offer is the third step. Now the fourth thing is actually one of the more important steps, and that is once you close on the property, getting it rented out and finding qualified tenants. For me personally, I have student rentals, so I approach this a little bit differently. I actually went on Facebook pages for Grand Canyon University, and I basically just made posts about off-campus properties. I even have my own Facebook page for my 2 properties, so I can be proactive with that. So when I do get a vacancy, I have like 100, 200 people following the page, so they can just immediately click on it and it can get filled faster than if I were to like try to go through a property manager or try to do like a traditional way of renting it on like Zillow and stuff like that. So that's been very effective with me. Now obviously it's not going to work for everyone. I have a younger generation that's renting out my property, so like they're more tech savvy, so a Facebook page is a very, very efficient way to do it. I actually ran a Facebook ad on my first property, and that's actually how I found my first tenants. In my first property, I ran a Facebook ad with the radius right around the school, and it was less than 25 years old, so it really just targeted students. You can find tenants through a property manager. It's a very, very popular thing to do, especially if you want more of a passive income. You don't have to deal with anything. You basically buy the property, and then for a certain percent, or sometimes it's a flat fee. One of my friends I just talked to today, he has a property manager at his properties, and they're just a flat fee no matter how much the rent is for $85 a month. So they'll collect rent for you, they'll deal with any of the problems. You still have to pay for the problems if there's like a plumbing issue or stuff like that. They'll send the contractor out, they'll take care of all that, but you still have to pay for the issue. So a property manager is just a way for you to just be less active in the property, and you don't have to deal with phone calls, you don't have to deal with tenants directly. So if you want a more laid back approach and you're willing to just lose a little bit of your cash flow to pay someone else to do it, a property manager is a great way to do it, and they have really good techniques and standards for finding qualified tenants. Another thing you can do is just keep it simple. Go on Craigslist, go on Zillow, go on the MLS, go on Redfin, and just kind of post your house for rent. This will be a lot more time consuming because a lot of the times you're gonna have to go out there on your own and meet the tenants and make sure they're qualified. You're gonna have to go through the application process and all that kind of stuff. The way I see it is I'd rather take a little bit less rent every single month and get more qualified tenants or more people that are looking at the property, as opposed to getting premium rent for someone that's always late on their payments or always like skipping payments and stuff like that. So that's a very, very important step, and this will haunt you if you don't get the proper tenants in your house. So make sure you don't skip this step on screening tenants. And the fifth and final step is kind of just keeping up with your property. Once you have it, once you have tenants in there, the main thing is making sure they're happy. Obviously, with student rentals, you're gonna have more turnarounds, so you're gonna have to look for more tenants more often. But if you have a family property in a family neighborhood, you wanna keep them as happy as possible, because the longer you have one specific family or one tenant in there, the easier it is for you. You have less vacancies, you have less turnaround, you have to screen less tenants. So if you can have a happy tenant in there for 3, 5, 10 years, it's a lot easier than having a new tenant every single year. So those are my 5 steps on investing in your first rental property. There's probably a lot more good tips out there, but I wanted to keep this video on the shorter end. If you guys have any questions about anything in this video, be sure to comment down below. If you guys could drop a like on the video, it really, really does help me out. And if you guys haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that. I'll see you guys in the next video.